welcome to a new video. So in this video, we're going to discuss about how to create a framework using Docker integration and execute our tests in multiple browsers. So this will be a quick brush up video for everyone who lacks understanding about how we need to integrate our tests into remote machines. So basically, if you're able to execute your tests in Docker containers, then most probably you will be able to execute them in your remote machines like EC2 instances. And then also we'll be integrating our test into GitHub CI, that is GitHub Actions. And this will basically help you to understand what challenges do we face while executing the tests into Docker containers or in multiple browsers. Okay. And we'll be also creating a framework using page object model, fluent interface, builder pattern, all of those things with data driven tests. Okay. So this will be a very informative video, so I would highly suggest you to follow along and pause the video wherever you face challenges and try to solve it. Otherwise, you can or definitely ask me in the comment section and I will be happy to help you. And if you create a project using this video, then definitely try to share it on LinkedIn and I will try to comment on this video and I will repost that if you have added some new functionalities or you fix the bugs that I will be showcasing in the code that I will be creating. Okay. So basically I will be writing the code and there will be few bugs that I would ask you to solve. If you're able to solve them, then definitely post that on LinkedIn and I will reshare it. Okay. So let's start with the video. So basically what I'm trying to do, I'm just creating a new project into IntelliJ IDEA and this is a community edition, free one. Okay. So you can keep it anything, keep the name as demo project and I'm using Maven based project, right? And this is my JDK. So I basically installed my JDK through Homebrew, okay, in my Mac machine. I'm clicking on create for now. So we have created a new project and you can see the pom.xml file over here, okay. And the basic pom.xml, like it does not contain any dependencies and all for now, okay, and the properties file only. So what we will do, we'll just quickly add up the dependencies for WebDriver as well as TestNG. Okay, so let me just copy it from my Maven repository. Okay, let me just quickly copy it and move it to here. Okay, and you will also find the code for this entire project in the GitHub repository. Okay, so you can just directly clone it or reuse it again if you want. Okay, so let me move it down and then just reload the project again. Okay, so these are basically the latest, almost the latest version of Selenium WebDriver and TestNG files. Okay, and this is the project structure that we have. Okay, and so what are we trying to do for now is that let me just open a browser. Okay, and this is the test application that we are going to use. Let me just open it here. Okay, so this is a test application that we are going to use. So you can see the practicesoftwaretesting.com/auth/login. Okay, and I will also share the URL for this in the description section of this video. You can open it. So basically, we have a GitHub repository for this as well. Okay, and you will find the basic info for this application. Okay, so what are we trying to do is like you will see the default accounts. You can just directly use them, or else you can create a new one. Okay, by registering from here or else like you can use this default one. And also we have different versions of this application, like we have a version with bugs. Okay, so you can use this one. Then we have the APIs as well, so you can utilize it as per your need. Okay, so for now what I'll do, I'll just quickly go ahead and use a default user. Okay, so let me just copy this email ID, paste it over here, enter the password. Okay, and just quickly log in. So this is the basic interface. Okay, and once you log in as a user, as a customer basically, then you will be landed on this page. So whatever details that are present in your customer account, those will be displayed over here in the my account page. Okay, and if you go to home page for now, you will see different items listed. Okay, so this is basically a commerce platform, and if you click on any of the items, then details will be showcased, and then you can see the image, you can see the count quantity. You can click on add to cart button. Okay, so once you click on add to cart, then you will see this message appearing over here. And once the message appears, then you can go to cart page, you can validate the item, and then you can click on proceed to checkout. So it says that you're already logged in, so then I am able to proceed to checkout. Then I can enter the address over here. Okay, some random values for now. Okay, and then proceed to checkout. Then you can see the payment, enter any payment mode. So suppose if I select cash on delivery, then click on confirm, then a message will be appeared over here. So this is the basic end-to-end flow that we are going to automate for now. Okay, and finally you can click on sign out. and then you will be landed on this page, or else you can go to home page again. Okay, so this is a basic flow that we are going to automate. Okay, so I'm moving this screen to my another screen, okay, and this browser screen, and we will start automating stuff now. So to start with automation, we basically need to have the basic setup of WebDriver and TestNG available. Okay, so that we already done. And now we are going to quickly create a new test. Okay, so let me just go ahead and in my test folder. Okay, so I will just right click on this Java folder and create a new package or name it like tests for now. Okay, if you want, otherwise you can directly create the test. It really depends. So then we will keep it like end to end test. Okay, and then we will add it to Git, and then we can start writing the code. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to follow any principles for now. Okay, I'll just quickly go ahead and write the code so that we have the basic skeleton available, and then we can take it forward. Okay, so let's quickly write a test. Okay, and then public void end to end test, or we can keep it like underscore. Okay, and then we can start with this. So if you check out the login page, right, on the login page you'll be finding, so first thing first, like we need to route to the application. Okay, so for routing to the application, we need to use the get method. Okay, so for to getting the method, that getting the URL, let me just check out the URL first. Okay, so this is the URL, right? So we just need to write this command. Okay, driver.get, and we'll just initialize our WebDriver driver, and we'll import it. Once we import it, then we can initialize over here driver equal to new Chrome driver. For now, we are keeping it static. Then later onwards, we will update it. Okay. And then now, once this is done, then we can just create our login user. Okay. And for logging in the user, we can directly go ahead and create our fields. So that would be this. Okay. And once this is done, so basically what I'm trying to do is I'm entering the URL of the application, and then secondly what I'm doing, I'm just finding out the email field and sending the data, that is this email ID, and these are default credentials that you or I already have showcased, right? So then this is the password field. I'm finding it by ID, then sending the password. Then I'm finding the login button. So I'm using data test with an X path, and I'm performing a click on it. Okay. And before starting with this, we can set up a basic details like driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicity wait. Okay, so we'll keep it like duration of 15 seconds. Okay, so off seconds. This will be 15, right? And then we can also keep it like driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. Okay, so this will adjust to the maximum size that is possible on your screen. Okay. So this is done. Then we can quickly go ahead and start the execution. So you can click over here, you can click over here, okay, and we can execute the test. So both the ways are right. So let me just see what is happening, why the test got failed. Okay. So there is, scroll down and see driver.manage. This dot driver is null. Okay, fine. So let's move these two lines below the initialization. My mistake. Go ahead and execute this one. See what is happening. Right, so this is maximized, and now it will try to log into the user. Right, so login goes to the next page, fine. And because we haven't added the quit for now, that's why I didn't quit. So let's add the quit statement as well, driver dot quit. Okay, and let's go to the terminal first and try to execute the test. Okay, so we have different commands available, right? So we can use mvn clean to clean any cache available within the project. Okay, so it will be cleaned up. Then we can use mvn compile to check whether the all the source code that has been written, is it right or not. Okay, so it will try to compile it. So it says build success, then we can definitely go ahead and run the code to test. Okay, so mvn test, then it will run the code, right? So whatever the Selenium WebDriver code that we have written, we can just go ahead and execute it using Maven commands directly. So I'm not keeping the stuff, these all the stuff that we usually discuss about while integrating the CI and all. We are not going to keep it for the last part of the video. I have just started to integrate it. Okay. So these are the Maven commands, and there is another command that we can use, commonly used, mvn clean test. Okay, so we can use this as well. So instead of writing commands separately, we can directly use mvn clean. So it will first clear the cache and then it will run your code. Okay, so this can also be done. So if I do the same thing again, so it will again try to execute the code again. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so this will keep on executing, and let's try to integrate. So this is the basic code. Okay, so we will discuss about how page object model works, what is functional page object model, what is structural page object model, how fluent interface work, okay, how builder pattern works. So we'll discuss all those things. But first thing, I just want to go ahead and integrate Docker into my framework. Okay, so how to do that? Okay, so before integration of Docker, you need to make sure that you have Docker available in your system. Okay, so I'm using Mac, so that's why I've installed Docker desktop. Similarly for Windows as well, we have the Docker desktop available. Okay, we can see it is already running. I'll just click on stop for now. Okay, and so it will stop, and then I can delete. Okay, delete forever. And because my Mac is M1 chip, sorry, this is M4 chip. Okay, so because of this, my processor architecture is ARM. Okay, and I cannot use default Selenium images that are available for Docker. Okay, within Docker, so we need to use Selenium ARM images. Okay, so I will showcase that. So if you're using AMD based system, then you can go ahead and use default Selenium WebDriver images that are available. But if you're using Mac, latest Mac machines just like me, then you might need to use Selenium ARM. Okay, might not, it's necessary. So let me just open the application quickly. Okay, and let's go to, so let me bring, okay, so let me do this one thing, Selenium WebDriver Docker images. Okay, and then Selenium images Docker, right? So let's do this, and let me bring the browser here. Okay, so what I did, I searched for this one, and then if I go to this Selenium HQ, okay, Docker Selenium. So this is the repository being maintained by the Docker, sorry, Selenium WebDriver team itself. Okay. So if I scroll down, you will see the necessary information that we need to set up the Docker. Okay, and execute our framework into using Docker. Okay. So you can see that this is the command, and then we can see that it says architecture, what it supports: AMD ARM V8, and it does not support ARM 32 and ARM 77. Okay, so that's why it says cross over there. And then we can see a lot of more things. Okay, so suppose if you want to execute with different ports and VNC and all, then you can use this command. Okay, and this part that we see over here. Okay, this is the actual image. So this is a Chrome image. So this image will be pulled first, and then we will be using this particular image into our local machine, and then we will executing our code into inside this container. Okay, so that is what happens. So then you can keep on scrolling, and you can read a little bit more. And then we have the support for Firefox as well, Edge as well. Okay, so and then this is Docker Compose. We'll be discussing about this as well, how Docker Compose works. So let me just go ahead and go to Selenium ARM for now. Okay, and if I go to Selenium ARM, you will see. Okay, so it's not opened. Let me see. Okay, just okay. So this was the one. Okay, so let me go to my code and let's see what exactly did I do. Right. So to keep things short, right, I will just go ahead and write the Docker file for now, and then we will start with the discussion of how the execution is going to happen. Okay, so let's create a new directory over here and keep it like Docker for now, and I'll create a new file. So this file will be in YAML format, so we keep the extension as YML. Okay, so I'll keep the name as Docker standalone. I will explain why I'm using a standalone browser. Okay, so you can keep it something like Docker Compose. Okay, then standalone dot YML. Okay, and this is done. Then we might need to do some changes for this, or else I can showcase. Okay, so let's first thing first, what we'll do is we will try to execute our code into the basic Docker container first, and then we will set up the Docker compose file. Okay, otherwise this will make things little complex to understand at the first place. Okay, so let's do one thing. Go to my this page. Okay. So what exactly we need to do is now we need to use a WebDriver, or else we can use remote WebDriver as well. Okay. To use remote WebDriver, you just need to add the basic commands of WebDriver. Okay. We can use this one. So to execute our code on inside a container, so what we'll do, we'll use this driver equal to, okay. Then this will be new remote WebDriver, and then finally we'll be using new URL, and then this URL will be pointing towards Selenium. You can just keep it like a constant. So whenever we use constant, so we have the practice to follow that. It will be in capital letters. Selenium Hub URL. Okay, and then obviously it will be giving me the error, and because I haven't initiated it. So let me just do this. So I will use the variable name like private static final string, and then I'll just copy this, paste it over here, and go to what. So I'll add the URL. So this is the default URL, and this is the default port that Selenium WebDriver uses to communicate with the basic client server architecture model. Okay. So this is the client, the code that we are writing. This is the client. So it will send the commands to the server, and then it will perform the action that we are trying to do. Okay. So this is one of the action that I'm trying to do: maximize, finding the element, quitting the browser. So these are all actions. Okay. So then it will say that you need to add an exception. So we'll say, yeah, we will add the exception because of malformed URL exception. Okay. Then what does it say? Let's remove this exception and use try catch instead of this. Okay. And what error does it say? Required type capabilities provided URL. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's add some basic Chrome options. Okay, so let's add Chrome options as well. So C Chrome options equal to new Chrome options, because when we try to execute the code inside our Docker container, we need to limit some resources, okay, or we need to assign some resources. So if you are not using GPU, then we need to disable a GPU, okay, because if you are running it in headless mode. If you're running it in the head mode, then we might need to provide it some more memory to use inside the container. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to do now. So I will say Chrome options dot add arguments. Then I will add what? Disable dev shm usage. So it is basically an argument which helps to assign some memory, okay, within the container to perform WebDriver actions. Okay, and then I can just add it over here, Chrome options. Okay, then it will work fine. Okay, so this is what we do. And if I try to execute it now, so before this, let me just set the port to 4444. Okay, so remember this, that the default port is 4444 instead of 4441. 41 I was using for some other criteria. Okay, so we will discuss that as well. So currently what we need to do is we just need to go ahead and check out the container image. So what we can do is, let me just go to my terminal, clear this for now, and do docker. So let me just go to GitHub again. Okay, and get my command. Okay, so this is the one, and if I go here, so you will see that this is the command that we use. Okay, so copy this command for Chrome browser. This is for Firefox, or else you can just copy this, go to your editor, delete this, add it. Okay, and then what we do, we just go instead of this image. If you're using Selenium, if you're using AMD, then you can use that image directly. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. So we will just copy and use this Selenium image. Okay, like this, and you can see docker run -d. So it will basically pull the image. So run basically means it will run the container, and and pull this particular image which I mentioned, right, which is highlighted in white. And if this is image is not available in a local machine, it will pull it. If it is available, then it will use the same image to execute. And these are the default ports for communication. So 4444 is the port that Selenium WebDriver uses, and it will map the same port 4444 inside our machine. Okay. Similarly, it uses 7900 port for VNC, okay, to showcase the execution. And same port is being mapped in my machine as well. And then it is providing some space, which you mentioned, right? SHM size. So 2G means 2 GB space. Okay. And if I run this command, then you will see that this is image name or image ID, you can say, or container ID. And if I go to my Docker desktop, you will see that this particular container is now running, and this is the container ID. Okay. And if I go ahead and write the command as docker ps, then it will also do the same thing. Okay. It is giving me the image details or the container details, you can say. Okay. So now what I'll do, I'll just quickly go ahead and execute my program. Okay. So I'll just create a new local over here and I will do mbn test. I'm not providing any other credentials for now. I'm just doing mbn test and let's see what is happening. If it executes, then it should pass and then I will show you the execution. Okay, so this is the test run. Okay, so now let's just copy this URL. Okay, go to your browser, delete the WD hub. Okay, and go to this. So you can see that this is the actual grid setup, but this is not a Selenium grid. Grid basically means that you are using it for multiple browser execution. Currently, we are just using for one browser. That's why I told you that I am using what? I am using standalone browser. Okay, so if you see the command as well, if you see the command as well, okay, see the command as well, then the command itself, the image name itself says that standalone. Okay, so this is not a node image. So in grid, what do? We have a hub and node architecture. Hub is the one which controls the commands which are going to be sent to different nodes. So nodes are the machines in which actual automation execution happens. Okay, so that is what we do, right? So actual execution which will happen, it will happen inside the node. Hub is the one which controls the execution inside the node. Okay. So that is called Selenium Grid, which is based on hub and node architecture. Currently, we're using standalone browser. So hub as well as the node, it both the things are present inside the standalone browser. Okay. These are not separate right now. These are being configured inside the single container. So that is why it is called as standalone Chromium. Okay, I hope you got the point. And now if I execute my code again, go to local 2, execute it and go to sessions. Okay, so you will see a session running and it will be very fast. Okay, so you might not see that. So, okay, so it executed and then it is done, right? So if I go to what? I'll just go to my URL of 7900. Okay, let's go to that and you'll see that this no VNC screen is visible. If you connect on it, just type the password as secret, secret. I'll just mention it, secret. Okay, so this is the password and send credentials. So you will be connected to this. Okay, now if I try to execute this, delete this and execute and go to the VNC screen. So our session will be started. Okay, so this is the execution. So this is basically what is happening. This is happening inside the Docker container, right? So this execution is actually happening inside of a Docker container and it is showcased because the execution is very fast. That is why it is not visible. So if I add some sleep, okay, if I add some sleep over here before quitting, if I add some sleep, thread dot sleep, and I keep it like 5000 for now, and use more actions, go to try catch. Okay, so do this and let's try to execute this again. Go to your browser. Okay, then you will see the execution and it will stop. Okay, once it enters the email ID password, clicks on login, then it will stop. Okay, and wait for 5 seconds. So this is what is happening. Okay, I hope you got the point. So now we have actually started to execute our test into what? Into our Docker containers. So now we can use Docker Compose as well. So Docker Compose is basically what it will, whatever steps that we did manually over here. We started the container, right? And then we executed our automation that can be automated using our Docker Compose. Okay. So similar thing. So I will just do what? I just write the code first, okay, so that you get to understand the concept first. So this is the code, okay, and this is the basically a Docker Compose file. Okay, and all the components are tab separated. So make sure that you follow the exact structure. The way we use it in Python, Python syntax based is separated by tabs. Okay, that is why its compiler actually validates the code whether it is right or not. So that is why same thing YML file also uses tab based structure. Okay, so then you can see that version is 3, it is set to 3 services, and inside services we'll mention whatever different browsers we are going to use. Suppose we use Chrome, we use Firefox, we use Edge, we use Safari, then you can mention that, and inside that you will mention the image name that needs to be pulled. So what do we did? We basically did the same thing. So if I use this one, you can see that Selenium standalone hyphen Chrome latest. I'm using the exact same image name. So if it is present in your machine, then it will use the same thing. If it is not present, then it will pull. Okay. And then we have the host name. Obviously, it will be Chrome. Privileged true. Size obviously 2 GB as I already told. And now ports. Okay, so you see this 4441. So this is the default port, and now I'm mapping the default port of WebDriver to my 4441 port inside my machine. It is my machine port. Okay, 7901 is also my machine port. So earlier I was accessing my VNC on what? I was accessing it on my 7900 what do we call it? Yeah. So this is the port, right? 7900. But now what I am doing, I am trying to access it on 7901. Okay. And environment is basically says SEVNC no password equal to 1. So basically it means that I will not providing any password to access the VNC. Earlier we used secret password to access it, but now I don't want it. Okay. I will keep it passwordless. Maximum sections. So now if you remember, let me just go back to the browser again. Okay, if you remember, let's go to what? 44444 again, right? And if you go to overview, you can see that max concurrency is 1, set to 1, right? And if I increase the count from 1 to 2 over here, so it will showcase that 2 sessions can be executed, okay? So that depends upon my requirement personally. Okay, now let's go do one thing, Control C, clear this, okay? And let's try to execute the command. So basically I have showcased the command as well. So this is the command docker compose, okay? And hyphen f basically says that you will be providing a file name. Okay, docker compose standalone dot yml and then up. Okay, so this will basically start my environment, start the container itself. Okay, so it says no such file or directory, obviously, because I am inside my root directory of the project. I need to go inside the docker folder. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll type ls to see what are the folders available. So docker is available, and then what I'll do, I'll just quickly go ahead and see cd docker, okay, and see ls, and we have this file, and now I can execute my command. Okay, now if I go to my docker desktop, let me just close this. Okay, so you can see that the container is running. Okay, this is the one, and this is the standalone browser that I used earlier. Okay, the standalone browser which I used from what? When I did the manual execution. But now I can stop this one. Okay, so it will stop. And this is the actual compose, Docker compose container that we are going to start. Okay, so it is working, and now I can do the same thing, mv and test. And we just need to do one thing. We need to go to our test, go to top, and instead of 4444, it should be 4441. Okay, and same thing inside our browser as well. I go to my browser. We were using it on what? If I refresh this, it will say that it gives an error, right? Because we stopped it. And now if I go to 4441, then it will do the same thing. And you can see max frequency set to 2. Okay. So if I go to sessions and try to execute my code and go back, see the sessions. Okay. So it is executing, right? Same thing if I go to 7901, right? So it will show me the VNC, click on connect. Now it will not ask me for password as expected, right? So we have this option as well. We can see different options. You can explore this. If you click on settings, then you can see view only. if you want to perform any actions, then you can directly perform inside the container as well. Okay. If you click on this view only, then you will not be able to do that. Okay. So these are basic settings available. And we can go to our code editor again, try to execute this again and see the execution directly from here. Okay. So this is connected and without asking for the password. I hope you got the point. So now let's go back and try to access some more concepts and discuss about it. So currently we haven't added any TestNG XML file. Okay. So first thing first, what I'll do, I'll just quickly go ahead and create a new base test. Okay. So we are starting to execute or starting to understand about what we are going to start and discuss about page object model, right? So usually what we do, we keep before method at the rate before and we use it as public void setup. Okay. And we'll have another method that is after method, public void tear down. Okay. So setup basically runs before execution of each test method, and after method will be executing after the execution of each test method, right? So whatever commands that you have, you can directly use them over here. Okay. So suppose if I want to set up my WebDriver, okay, and I can do it over here. So what I did, I was doing this setup, right? This basic setup. So let's go Control X, okay, and go to paste test, paste it. Okay. Now obviously it will give me an error. I'll go back, Control X, paste test, go here, paste it, okay, and then I'll remove this paste test from this WebDriver from here, okay, and I'll extend our base test from here, okay. So this is done, and now we can remove this as well, or else we can do few more concepts. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly go ahead and create inside my main package Java. I'll create a new directory or a package, and I'll keep the name as what do we call it? We can keep it anything. So for now, what I'll do, I'll just keep it like utils, and inside utils, I will keep a class name, and I'll keep it like configuration. Okay, and add it. Okay, so this configuration will be helping me to set up commands. Okay, so what commands we can use? So with Maven, obviously Maven is a build management tool, right? So we can have set up commands that can be used inside the CI directly, or else we can use it within our terminal as well. Okay, so first thing first, we can keep like something public static string browser name. Okay, and this will be get from what system dot get property. Okay, and we can keep the property name as what browser name, or you can keep it like browser key as well. And then we need to provide a default value. Suppose if we do not provide any values, then what will happen? So we'll keep it like Chrome for now. Okay, and similarly, we'll create another property that is public static string what. So we can say platform. Okay, and you will see what do I mean by platform what in later in some time obviously. Get property. Okay, and this will be what, this will be platform itself. Okay, and then we can keep it like local for now, that is also fine, or we can keep it docker. It really depends. Okay, so this will, what it will do is we will try to discuss. So let's go to our base test again, and inside my code, so basically when I did this and I extended it inside my end-to-end test, I did not execute it, right? So let's try to execute this first and see if it is working fine or not. Ambient test. It is actually executing inside the Docker, so that is why it is not popping up any windows. Okay, so this is working fine. No issues in this. Now, what we did, we created this configuration, right? Now we need to use this configuration so that if I provide certain command in my terminal, then I can use that properties which I mentioned in the command. And if I do not mention any properties in my command, then it will use the default ones. Okay, so that is what we are trying to do. So if I come over here, and because this browser name is static, okay, I can go to my base test. and do what? So if browser configuration dot browser name dot equal ignore case is what? Chrome. Okay, then it should use this. Okay, similarly, if I do the same thing with what? Control C V, and instead of Chrome, what I'll do, I'll keep it like Firefox. Okay, and instead of Chrome option, I'll keep it like Firefox options. And instead of Chrome, I'll use what? Firefox options. Okay, similarly, this will be copied, pasted over here. This will be copied, pasted over here. Okay, pasted over here. Okay, so this is done. And now we can have it little more complicated. And if I do one more thing, so if configuration dot platform dot equal ignore case is local. Okay, if this is local, then I will execute this piece of code. Okay, and I'll just add it like this. If it is not local, platform is not local. Similarly, else, or I can just go ahead and do else. Okay, if it is anything except local, then I will execute the code inside what? I will execute the code inside my Docker. Okay, so both the things can be done. I'll just control exit, paste it, and for this one, I'll create a new block. So I can just do one more thing. I can just copy this code. I hope you're getting the point, okay? So we did this, and then if it is Chrome, so I will do one thing. So driver equals to new Chrome driver. Simple, nothing else. Okay. Similarly, else if configuration dot browser name dot equal ignore case Firefox. Okay, then we'll keep it like driver equals to what? New Firefox driver. Okay, simple. So for local, this code will be executed. If my command includes local, then this will be executed. And if it uses, so let's add a condition as well. If else if configuration dot browser, sorry, platform name dot equal ignores case. If it is Docker, then it will use this code to execute. Okay, so instead of this, we'll use else if, and else we'll add another condition else, and we'll print that browser is unsupported if it is except Firefox or Chrome. Browser not supported. Okay, and copy this. Let's copy this entirely. Similarly, we'll go ahead. Okay, so this is done, and then what we have? We have this else if condition, and within the else if as well, we can add another else condition, and we can do system.out.println platform not supported. Okay, so this is the code that I added. Okay, so I hope you got the point. So let's do one thing. Now let's try to execute the code and see what is happening. So let's go to the terminal and do one thing, ambient test. And to use the arguments within your Maven command, we need to use what? We need to use -d, and then you can perform the whatever the variable names that you have set. So in my configuration file, if I go, okay, so this is the property name, or you can see the key, right? Key tag. So this is the key that I need to provide in my command so that I can use the browser name itself. So suppose I do browser, okay, browser equals to Firefox, because it is set to Chrome for now, okay, and I'm setting it to Firefox, so it should execute in Firefox, okay. Then another parameter, that is d platform, okay. If I do not use platform, then it will automatically execute our code in local. So let's do that for now. So I'm just providing the browser name, okay, Firefox, and it should execute my code in Firefox browser in my local machine, okay. So let's do this and see what is happening. Yeah, so it opened the Firefox browser, as you can see, and this is executing inside what? My Firefox browser with the application, whatever the test that we created, okay, which is closed. and you can see it is success. And now we'll do the same thing with what? We'll do the same thing with d hyphen d platform equals to what? Equals to Docker. Okay. And now if I go to my base test, then it should go inside this particular block with the Firefox image. Okay. And because I don't have the Firefox image, I did it for what? I did it for Chrome. Okay. I did it for Chrome. It says Chrome over here. It should give me an error. Okay. It should not execute. Let's see what is happening. If I go to my browser, yeah, so it is not executing it as expected. 44441. Yeah, it should fail. It is actually queuing, so you can see that it is giving me the Firefox information, the capabilities. Okay, it says Firefox icon, so mouse Firefox options are provided, but it is in queue. So because this image is for Chrome, that is why it is unable to execute it, and in some time it will fail and give me the error over here. Okay. And if I can manually just close it, okay, if I manually close it, then I need to close the Docker container as well, because it is in error state and it will not execute my tests further. Okay, so for that we can use the command, or else you can just go ahead and just type press Control plus C on your keyboard and it will stop the containers. Okay, so it says Docker container stopped, and we can reuse the command again to set it up. Okay, and then what I'll do, I'll just write the command mv and test again, and you can see that there is no queue size. It is set to 0 now. Mv and test hyphen d browser equal to Chrome hyphen d platform equal to Docker. Let's go back to a browser, see what is happening. Sessions, right? We can see it is executing as expected. Okay, so I hope that you are able to understand this concept. Okay, and of what we did till now. So we created one Docker Compose file, and we actually executed our code inside the Docker containers before actually creating the test. Okay, so this is the best practice. So even if you are in a development state of test, right? So I would highly suggest you to integrate CI processes or Docker or even basic GitHub actions in your project, so that since day one, you are in the loop of continuous improvement and continuous deployment and continuous test execution. Okay. So this helps with the feedback loop, and it improves that and fasten up the entire cycle. Okay, and this will also help and showcase or even improve your skill set in understanding how actually your test will work in different browsers and different environments, because this is an environment one. Most of the things usually work fine in local environment, but they usually fail in when we try to execute in Linux or Ubuntu based systems or even remote machines. Okay, so if your tests are executing in Docker container successfully, then most probably it will execute in EC2 instances or remote machines as well. Okay, so this is done, then I would say that let's try to integrate what? Let's try to integrate our uh, page back model further. Okay. So we haven't created the login page yet. So let's start with creating a login page. So let's go to a main directory, Java, and let's create a new class. So this will be my login page class, and add it to the GitHub repository. Okay, close this one and go to our end-to-end test. So I'll just copy this entire piece of code, Control X, go to my login page, public void, login user, paste it. Okay, so it will say that you need the driver. So what I'll do, I'll create another page. So let's create one thing, do one thing, go to this, the package, name it like pages, move our login page to login pages, refactor, and then we'll create another Java class, which we'll call it as base page. Okay, add it, and then you'll create what? You'll create WebDriver driver. Okay, close this one. Then you'll create a public constructor, We'll say WebDriver driver, and then we'll say this dot driver equals to driver. Okay, this is done, and then we'll extend it in our login page, base page. It is unable to fetch it. Okay, so let's move it inside the pages directory. Okay, then it says, so once we move it to our pages directory, then it says that what? If you hover over the error, then it will say create constructor of matching super. So we'll do that. And why did I create this class? Because it will give me a basic skeleton that needs to be followed inside my all the classes. Okay, so that is why I have created this one. If you create an interface, then it will not give you the access to create a constructor. Although in newer versions we can do that. But to keep things simplified, I just created a base page. Okay, and inside the base page we can also create some common methods which are common in all the page classes. We can keep those things as well as a basic skeleton of initializing or creating a driver variable which is accessible in all the classes. Okay, so now this is done. And similarly, what I can do, I can just go ahead. So if this is another concept that I want to discuss. Okay, so this is the basic login user concept. Okay, so I can do one more thing. If I want, I can just go ahead and do this public void enter email. Okay, and then I can accept the email from here, email, or I can say like user email. Okay, and then I can do this. I can just copy this line of code from here. Okay, control C and V. Okay, so I can do this as well. So this is basically what this is called, structural page object model, in which whatever the page structure we check out, we see in front of us, the UI, okay, and the UX. So if you follow that exactly in your classes, page classes, then we call it a structural page object model. So you see basically what? You see a email field, you see a password field, and then you see a login button. Okay, so using that, we are just trying to what? We are just trying to follow this. So if you see this email address and you just create a same field inside what? Inside your page class. So this is called structure. Okay. And over here, when I created this function, okay, this is what? A functional page object model. Why do we call it functional? Because we are trying to complete or test or write a functionality. Login is a functionality. Okay, it's not a structure. Structure is entering email, entering password, clicking on login. Okay, so that is a structure that we follow to log in a user. Okay, so I hope you got the point. So you can follow structural page object model as well if you want. So this is structural page object model, or else you can follow functional page object model. This is highly usable. In most cases, we try to follow functional page object model. Even in industry frameworks, most of the frameworks that I've worked with, I follow functional page object model instead of structural page object model. Okay, this is the use case. And now you can already see, if I follow structural behavior model, then you can see the number of lines of code that I need to write. Okay, first I need to initialize, create a function, then I need to write this line. And then if I want to actually log in a user, then I need to create a new function for login user. And then I will call these functions one by one. Okay, so the number of lines of code will increase. Okay, and it will also cause lot of duplicacy. Okay, so because of that, instead of doing or following structural model, we use functional one. Okay, so this is the basic understanding that I wanted to give. And now, even to reduce the further length of code, we'll use what? We'll use Fluent Interface. Okay, so what is Fluent Interface? So what are we trying to do now? Let me just go back to the application again, the test application again. Okay, over here, if you see what? You see this page, right? And if I log in, let me just copy this email address and enter the password over here. Click on login. Okay. If you log in, then you are landed on this page. What is this page? This is my account page. Okay. So this is the my account page. And now on this page, so basically when we log in as a user, we are landed on what? We are landed on my account page. So I can create a new page. We can call it as my account page. Okay. Add it. Go to local login page. and I will return what? I will return my account page from this. New my account page. Okay, so let me just go to my account page as well and extend my base page as well. Extends base page. Okay, and if I go to my login page, then it will ask me to give me an error, right? So it says that you need to, instead of void, you need to follow what? My account page. You need to return that. And then once you go back, my account page, create a constructor for this, then it will say that you need to pass the driver variable as well. So we added the driver variable. So this is called Fluent Interface. And what does it do? What benefit does it have? So if I go to my end-to-end test, okay, let me go to my test, okay. So this is the test that I created. And now, basically what I want to do, I want to log in a user, okay. So I will create an object for my login page, and close this, right? So I'll create login page dot login user. And now when I created this fluid interface, at that time it is returning me what? It is returning me my account page object to me. That is what it is trying to do, right? Return new my account page. So it is returning me the object of my account page already. So I don't need to create a new object. I can just reuse the previous object that I created for my login page. Okay. So I will do this my account page, and I will accept it from here. Are you getting? So this is so now what I'll do, I'll just quickly add one more action. So let me just go to my account page, and let's do one thing. So the application which I opened, right? So I'll just quickly grab one thing. So let's do this, and this should work. Okay. So what I did, I just pasted this one, and now instead of store page, I'll just use void for now, and we will not be returning anything. So what I'm doing in this exactly, okay. So let me just, I'll just comment this also, no worries. So what I'm trying to do with this code is when I click on this home button, okay. If I click on this one, okay. So first thing I identified that element, okay, and I performed a clicked on home icon, okay. So this one. After that, I'm just scrolling using JavaScript executor 100 pixels down. Okay. So this is the x-axis, that is 0, and this is the y-axis, that is 100. Okay. So I'm scroll 100 pixels down on the page. So this is the page. If I scroll 100 pixels, then it will do that using JavaScript executor. Okay. So this is the basic action that I'm trying to perform. Now if I go to my end-to-end test again, let me just go to this page. And now what I'll do, my account page dot click item. Simple. So you're getting right. So what I did, I just created one object over here. Okay. I haven't initialized it actually. So let me just initialize it. Login page equal to new login page and pass the driver. Okay. So I created one object over here. You can see this one. Now I'm using that one to initialize further objects. So this is called Fluent Interface. I hope you got the point. Now let's try to execute this. Okay. So I'll just quickly execute it using IntelliJ for now. Okay. And see what happens. Right. So it should go to the home page and perform a scroll of 100 pixels, as you can see. Okay. It went to the home page and it scrolled because we are unable to see the navigation bar at top. Okay. So you can see that how easy it is to integrate page back model with different types of patterns, you can see, right? So we have used Fluent Interface, and now we can use a builder pattern. Builder pattern is slightly complicated, you can say. Okay. So we will try to use that as well. So I hope that this video was useful. I just wanted to showcase the basic overview about how we actually create a project from scratch and integrate CI and CD into it with basic structure setup. So it hardly took me 1 to 2 hours, okay, to set it up. And then I recorded this video as well, okay. And then I created a new project again, okay. So I just showcased the entire process in less than 30 minutes, I guess, okay. So you can see how fast it is. And now with AI usage, you can reduce this time further as well, okay. So everything is very easy to learn, but the one thing that we need to understand is spend time to implement things, spend time to learn the things from scratch. Okay. So what I would ask you now is to complete this project further. Okay. So first thing first, I have already created the course. Okay, for following all the practices and things which I use in my day-to-day framework buildings. Okay, which are the things which I have learned from day one to now. Okay, the number of weeks with the experience which I have. So that learning is available in the course. Okay, so I've already posted that course on my top mid and Udemy. You will find the links in the description section. Okay, so if you want to check it out, you can check it out. You can purchase it if you want. Okay, otherwise you can create it on your own as well. I don't worry about it. Okay, so it's your choice completely. Secondly, I have another course which is with Playwright TypeScript, and I'm doing the same thing with Playwright TypeScript as well. Okay, and with Playwright TypeScript course, a part two is going to drop soon. So that part I will just showcase a demo of that as well in my YouTube video in some time. Okay, so you will find that as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely consider subscribing. And then the final part, what you need to do. Okay, what is your assignment now? Okay, so the assignment is a quite basic, not very difficult. So you will, once we log in as a user, okay, after that we landed on this page, you will click on any of the items. Suppose you click on pliers for now. Okay, you click on pliers and then you click on this. You will increase the quantity to like 2. You will click on add to cart. You will validate the message over here. Okay, this message needs to be validated. So add an assertion for this. Okay, once you add the assertion is passed, then you will click on this cart button. Okay, once you click on cart button, you will validate the item name, okay, the quantity, and then you will click on proceed to checkout button. Again, you will perform the login over here. Okay. So let me just quickly do that. Copy this and enter the password, login. Okay. Then you will see that you are already logged in. Whatever confirmation message you get, you will validate this as an assertion. Okay. This is assertion part 2. And then you will click on proceed to checkout. Then you will add the billing address. So this billing address should be dynamic. It should not be static. I am not going to use a data provider, or I am not going to use what? I will not use a JSON file or Excel file, anything. I will use a library called as Faker library. Okay. You will use that one and generate data. Okay. So that will be dynamic data. Every time it will change. Okay. So try to explore that one as well. And then you will enter the details once you have done that. So for now, I will do it random. Okay. So once you enter the details, then you will click on proceed to checkout. And once you do that, then you will select one of the payment modes, suppose cash on delivery, and then you will click on confirm. Once you click on confirm, then you will put an assertion for this message as well. So this is your assertion part 3. So once you have done this assignment, then you are good to go. So this is basically an end-to-end flow for a e-commerce based application. Okay. Similarly, there can be more complex scenarios in which you will integrate the API together. So to log in a user, you will create an API. You will use an API to log in, and then you will use a bearer token which is generated to perform rest of the actions that we are doing on UI. Okay. So that can also be done. So, but for now, the scenario which I showcase, I try to follow it and complete the assignment. If you complete that and execute it successfully inside the Docker container, then share it on LinkedIn, tag me, I will repost it, and I will also add some more complex things which we can implement in that framework, okay, to improve it. You will also find this piece of code which I created in GitHub repository, and also another piece of code which I created earlier. Okay, so that code actually has bugs in it. So try to solve that as well. So I will link both of the repositories in the description. Follow it and try to solve it. I will meet you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Take care. All the best.